It's a feud that could shape the future of the U.S. economy. President Trump accusing Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell of keeping interest rates, quote, artificially high, and is now threatening to replace him.
Our Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young joining us to break this down. We know this conflict has escalated over the last couple of months. This is kind of reaching unprecedented levels.
Yeah, while it's not unheard of for a sitting president to disagree with a Federal Reserve chairman, yeah, we are kind of seeing a level of tension that is really notable. So President Trump went from publicly criticizing Powell for keeping rates high, then he went to pretty much telling him to maybe resign and take a step back, to now, just a couple days ago, the president has kind of hinted at replacing Powell with a, quote, shadow Fed before Powell's term is even up. And before we get into exactly what a shadow Fed is and how this could actually impact Americans, let's kind of look at a timeline of how we got here. So, Powell is a former investment banker who became the Fed chair in the first place because despite Trump's current stance on how he's handling monetary policy today, Powell was nominated by Trump as the Federal Reserve chair in 2017. The Senate then confirmed that nomination the following year. Powell finished out his 4-year term under Trump and then was re-nominated by former President Joe Biden in 2021. The Senate then once again confirmed his second term in 2022, meaning Powell is currently in his second term as Fed chair and has 11 more months left in his current term. So, and again, it is normal for a Fed chair to serve consecutive terms here. We have seen that happen many times in the past.
Well, so can the president actually replace Powell before his term is up?
Yeah, so technically he cannot. Again, the Fed is kind of appointed for a 4-year term. Powell still has 11 months left, May of 2026. So he cannot be fired because of a disagreement with monetary policy. Though, having said that, a Fed chair can choose to resign. We have seen that in the past. We know Trump is calling for Powell to resign. But I do think that as of right now is extremely unlikely because Powell has said publicly that he does plan to serve out his entire term.
You mentioned President Trump wants a shadow Fed. What is that? What's the role of that? And can he or she, would they actually have a say?
So it's not an official title, right? So this is more of like a nickname that has been dubbed for maybe someone who Trump will want to name as a successor to take Powell's spot once his term is up. Now, the shadow Fed really has no formal authority here. However, economists have kind of seen this concept as controversial, really, because they believe that it could undermine the system in place of the Fed is currently what they do, the Fed chair, right? And it could also lead to a manipulation of the system. I will say others have pointed out that there could be a silver lining here because we know the economy has been really unstable over the last couple of months, right? So having a heads up over who could be in this position come next year, this could maybe allow markets to kind of prepare for that. And Trump has, talked about announcing who this nominee, the shadow Fed, would be. He says that announcement could be coming, quote unquote, very soon. So it'll be interesting to see who he decides to pick for that position.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people, I think, no matter where you fall politically, you're like, boy, these interest rates are killing me. So for the American consumer, what does this kind of fight or battle between Trump and Powell do for them? What does it mean for us?
I think right now, despite this ongoing pressure from Trump, Powell just last week said we are not touching these interest rates until we kind of get a better sense of where the economy is going. And things that the Fed chair is looking at right now is unemployment rate and also the impact of these looming tariffs. And for the time being, I think what this tells me that this feud isn't having an impact right now, right? Because there is pressure. The Fed is saying, we're not changing things right now. Even if you are pressuring me to resign, they're going to stay where they are. I think if we kind of look down the line, President Trump has said point blankly, the person that I'm going to replace you with, I'm going to make sure that they are going to reduce interest rates. That would, of course, impact consumers' borrowing power, credit cards, home mortgages. So I think a lot of Americans could see that as a positive thing. However, there's always a flip side, right? There are concerns that attacking the interest rate, dropping it too aggressively, could lead to higher inflation in the long run. So this is a real balancing act. Of course, you have the president wanting them to be lowered quicker right now, essentially. You have the Fed, who's currently or not office, but as chair, saying we need to hold off and wait. So again, it'll be interesting to see what happens, who President Trump nominates for this position. Powell has 11 more months, so we'll have to wait and see how he tackles the interest rate, but it'll be something that we'll absolutely be following up on and keeping an eye on.
I would not want the pressure of that position.
I would not
being
either.
Fed chair at all. All right, Taylor, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.